Hey, what it do, y'all? It's your boy E2 Blue coming back at you again, man. Look, this is the time of year where it's really tough, right? Your team makes it to the playoffs. You're 12-5. That was great. You had a plus positive because I had predicted at the beginning of the season the Cowboys would win 10 or 11 games, but they won 12. They beat the spread, if you will. Um, I just want to go over some things right now as far as like my thoughts about the season, about the coaching staff, who I think is going to stay or going to go, um, what could possibly happen with or without these individuals on the team next year. Um, but this is why, like, when you have your opportunity to get far into a playoff scenario or things of that nature, you need to take advantage of that while you have that team because you typically don't have the same team that you have the next year unless everybody takes a hometown discount. That thing that happened with the Bucks, a lot of those guys trying to come back and win another one. Obviously, that happened because both Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are out of the playoffs right now. So your top two quarterbacks are out of the playoffs. So now you have underdogs now that could win a Super Bowl this year outside of Pat Mahomes. But I'll give the Cincinnati Bengals credit, and I'm actually going to root for the Bengals this year because they're the underdog. They worked their asses off this year. Shout out to Chidobe Awuzie, our old DB that's now with Cincinnati. They're playing good out there. Joe Burrow is doing his thing. His offensive line is holding up, and you know they're very deserving of that. They played hard. And they deserve to go. So, with that being said, as far as the Cowboys go, again, like I said before, you get to this point, you don't get there, it's tough because shoulda, coulda, woulda, this, that, third, season's over. You're not gonna have the same team next year, and we'll talk more about that when it comes to the time nut cutting time when free agency comes where we lose certain players and you don't have this person or who are we going to keep. They messed around and did a bunch of 1 year contracts for these players, and now you have what, 21, 22 players that are heading into free agency right now. That's crazy. um but as far as these coaches go, it looks like Kellen Moore is more than likely going to come back this year, and I know that a lot of you guys don't want that, which is cool. And you know, if he left too, I probably wouldn't be too mad either. But I just think that because I think that for us to bring in another offensive coordinator is easier than us getting a defensive coordinator, and I'm explaining that because you look at this year, you look at the guys that we got on defense, you look at some of the guys that we got in the offseason, a lot of them was because of Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn started something that could be really huge for this team, and I just pray, I just hope and pray that he doesn't go with the Bears because I know he's on the second interview. Both him and Matt Eberflus are doing their second interview with the Bears, and I'm just like, ugh. Normally, when you get a second interview, that means that they really, really want you. I don't want to lose Dan Quinn because I feel like what he started here, he needs to continue to coach that. Like you got the young Micah Parsons and I was looking to see what Randy Gregory and D Law can do together, barring that they don't get injured. Brett Urban, we didn't see much of Brett Urban, but if you remember Brett Urban, they need to bring him back because he was one of the best run stuffers that we had on this team prior to him being out. We forgot about that because that was early in the season. Remember, we were winning games like shit in the beginning. But understand that like I just want him to still be the defensive coordinator at least for one more year. Jerry, if you're listening, I know you're not because I ain't nobody. But but resign Dan. I mean, not resign him. Give him some more money because he still got a contract. But you know how that works. The only way they can leave is for a head coaching job, right? Not anything else. Please, Dan, if Jerry offered you, and the reason why Jerry didn't put an offer on the table now is because there's nothing to fight against, right? So, say if the Bears offer him a contract, right? And then Jerry's like, "Oh, ho, I'll give you this amount of money just to stay one more year to see what we can do to try to establish something more with this team." Because I think that no matter what Dan Quinn does, even if Dan Quinn stays with the Cowboys, it's still a W for him, because if he continues to have a good defense next year with the Cowboys, teams are still going to want him next year. So he could get an even better opportunity for a head coaching gig next year. It just depends on, if he wants to do that. Now, to be the head coach of the Bears, I could see him going there because he's a tough guy. You got to be tough dealing with their media over there, because their media ain't no joke over there. They'll throw you all the way under the bus, and like, he's the type of guy that can handle that type of press. But as Micah Parsons said, that's my dog. Like, you want Dan Quinn to stay here, and I know that everybody and their mama is saying, "Oh, he's gonna be gone," and I guess I got to go with that, because everybody wants him right now. He's a hot commodity. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like the new Jordans when they come out. He's like the PlayStation 5. You got to get it, and I still ain't got one yet. But anyway, but yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's like, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, God damn, we was almost there, and then it just gets taken away from you just like that. But that's the thing with Dan Quinn. So, okay, put a pin in that. Let's just hope and pray that he decides he wants to stay, or if Jerry makes some magic happen, throw some money in his face, and he stays. Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, I don't see him being a head coach anywhere else, because he's still young and inexperienced. I don't dislike Kellen Moore by any means. I just want to let y'all know. And I told you before, my stance has never changed. I don't change my stances. I don't flip flop. How I feel is how I feel. And I said what I said about him is what I said. I already told you guys in the beginning of the season, we're gonna have ups and downs with Kellen Moore. That's what happens when you're dealing with a young coach. They're inexperienced, they're young, they're still learning on the job. It's just like if one of you guys had a job and you're new at it and you're still learning it, and somebody comes to you, like, "Oh, you need to be fired because you ain't doing it right." Hey, I'm still learning. This is, it's the same thing, right? Sean McVay started somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like all the greats. North Turner started somewhere. Kyle Shanahan. Everybody likes Kyle Shanahan right now. See what he's doing with the 49ers. But you have to understand that, like, you have to start somewhere. You have to learn. And you only learn by doing. You don't learn sitting on the side. You learn by doing. Now, everybody keeps talking about this whole Mike McCarthy got to go. Mike McCarthy ain't shit. Mike McCarthy ain't this. Why is everybody so hell-bent on getting rid of Mike McCarthy? And I'm explaining this to you. I didn't hear none of this when he was the coach of the Packers. Everybody kept saying, "Oh, the only thing that I did hear was, that he was the problem over there, that he was holding Aaron Rodgers back." Well, Aaron Rodgers is not in the playoffs now, too. So even with Matt LaFleur, they still didn't make the Super Bowl. So I'm just saying, everybody wants to blame Mike McCarthy whenever something bad happens. And then this is another thing, too, and this is the shit that kills me. Some of the fans are listening to these talking heads and the bullshit that comes out of their mouth, like when they say, "Oh, time management, clock management." Let me explain something to you about that clock management. If the Cowboys were so bad and Mike McCarthy was so bad at clock management, like, yes, there are some games where there were some decisions where you're like, why'd you do that? But people make mistakes. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to clock management, do you realize that the Cowboys, not only were they first in offense, and I know a lot of that has to do with some of the teams you were playing, but again, you don't make your schedule, you play who you play. So that narrative is out the window too. The Cowboys were leading the league in end of quarter, end of game scores. So they were scoring in pivotal times, 2-minute drill, things of that nature. Those are clock management situations. 2-minute drills, end of quarters, end of halves. They're leading the league in scoring in those situations. So how the hell does that equate to bad clock management or bad time management? I'll wait. That's why I said some of you guys need to watch out about who y'all listening to, and people just reverberating bullshit and just saying stuff just to get attention. It's already hard enough being a Dallas Cowboy fan, and it's either I can imagine it being harder playing for the Cowboys. And not to make an excuse for Dak Prescott, but that's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. Because the Dallas Cowboys, whether they win or lose, they are in the media about everything. If 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 the Panthers win 3 games in a row, nobody's saying anything about that. If the Cowboys win 3 games in a row, it's like, oh well, they're in the headlines, they're on a run, they're doing this. So they get hyped when they do good, and they get shunned when one thing happens bad. That is just the way that it is with the Cowboys, and it just sucks being a fan of an organization like that just gets so much press because they're the most watched, the most hated, and the most loved all at the same fucking time. And it's chaos. And imagine being a player on this team and being somebody that is nervous in a situation like that, because you can't even be nervous because it's like you're in the spotlight even when you don't want to be. The nightlife at Dallas, the glitz and glamour of Dallas, the owner, the type of owner that we have. We're the only organization that has a mom and pop, like a family run business like that. I know the Raiders had that, that Davis family, but Al Davis is gone. But so that changes their narrative. But as far as the Cowboys go, they're the only organization I can think of right now in the NFL that has that family type of thing. And everybody comes to me, do you think the Cowboys will ever sell? No, they're not going to sell. It's going to stay in the Jones family whether Jerry Jones lives or not. So for those of you that are waiting for Jerry Jones to die, Steven and Jerry Jr. are going to take it over. And Will McClay might be the actual GM finally. So it's not going to go away. So either you just root for another team or you just stick with this shit, because the only thing that's going to change is if the Jones family changes their mindset. I know Jerry's upset at this and that, and everybody's keep keying into whether he's mad at Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's not going nowhere. First of all, Jerry Jones kept Jason Garrett for 10 years with mediocre years. Mike McCarthy has only been here for 2 seasons? You could take away 2020, that 6-10, because that was an aberration year. That COVID year. We take that away from everybody. We're not going to judge any new coaches coming in on that first year. But the fact that the year that he didn't even implement his offense then. When Mike McCarthy implemented his game plan going into this year, we're 12-5. As far as the play calling, and everybody keeps saying that why he didn't take over for Kellen Moore, I'm going to tell you why. And I said this once before, you probably wasn't listening. And I'm going to say it again. Jerry Jones, and again, this is Jerry Jones saying this, he said, I want the boy Wonder to call the plays. And I don't want you to interfere with him calling the plays. Whether he's doing good or whether he's doing bad. Yes, put your input, tell him what he needs to do, but it's still up to Kellen Moore to do it. So the fault lies on Kellen Moore and the front office. Yes, Mike McCarthy is the coach too, so he gets credit for that too. But I don't think that warrants him losing his job, because I still think Mike McCarthy is a good coach. I think Kellen is going to be good too, but he still has to get better at what he's doing. He has to learn that, okay, you got to run the ball even when you don't feel like it. Run that goddamn ball. You have the players to do it. We got Ferraris in the yard and we're not using them. You wasted talent this year, and that's unfortunate. And now the fan base is pissed. And I'm not. You have every right to be. You have every right to feel the way that you feel. That's all good. I'm just trying to, quell the situation a little bit by explaining to you guys that, watch what you hear out there with the national media, because they lie a lot and they just say shit just to get clickbait. I'm not a clickbaiter. I speak the honest to God truth every day on my channel. That's why my channel is small. That's why I only have 6,000 subscribers, and it looks like I lost 13 of them in the last week. I don't know why people stopped following my channel. I guess people ain't messing with me no more. But I speak the truth regardless. Whether you like it or not, it is what it is. So, whether I lose all of my subscribers, at least whoever is still rocking with me is rocking with me. I know my day ones. You know what I'm saying? I know who y'all are, but you know, if you ain't messing with me no more, then it is what it is. I'm not begging for nobody, but you know, um, yeah, and that's pretty much it. I just want to get that out just so you guys can just get that little tidbit in there. Mike McCarthy's going to be here regardless, and I just think that like I said, I wouldn't mind having another offensive coordinator. I mean, this whole thing about Sean Payton too, he leaving the Saints, taking a year off. He deserves to take a year off. He's been there a decade over there with the Saints, and he doesn't want to coach this year. And who knows what's going to happen the year after next? But I'm gonna tell you right now, if we lose Dan Quinn, next year is going to be a little rough for us because now we have a first place schedule for next year, which means we play all the hard teams next year. So it's not going to be easy for the Cowboys next season either. So because you wasted this year, next year is going to be rough, and we might not be a 12-game team next year. Who knows? But soon we'll get in and we'll start talking about the free agents and who we guys want to keep. Thinking about doing a live stream with that, but those of you that still rocking with me, thank you for being here. But it's your boy E2 Blue. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you want to. I'm still here. Peace out, y'all.